Hello and welcome once again to Citizen AY, the platform where we speak truth to power. You are seeing the revolving sign Citizen AY behind me. Let me know what you think about it. What do you think of it? How does it, grab you? If you like it, leave comments. Let's hear from you. You are watching Citizen AY, the platform where we speak truth to power. What I'd like to really do is to go into this issue of Niger Republic. It is really looming large, and we're gonna be having a series of discussions around it. Not just about the Niger, but the ramifications in many other areas. But let us start with firstly what is about to happen. The government of Nigeria, apparently they have cut electricity to Niger, and that is from Nigerian point of view makes sense. But you see, on the face of it, why are we even selling electricity to Niger? They have nuclear, they have uranium, they have plentiful uranium in Niger. But that uranium is taken outside of the country by France. It's taken outside of the country by France. These are things that we're not aware of. So the system that we are running, the so-called democracy, is impoverishing Africans. The so-called democracy, the brand of democracy that is being espoused by the colonials on Africans and enforced on us, is an impoverishment one, whereby they take away our resources at dirt cheap prices and keep us impoverished in our land. Because uranium, Niger having uranium, they should not have to depend on anybody for electricity. If anything, Nigeria should actually be importing from them. I think we have some uranium. I'm not quite sure to what extent. But this is what I'm saying. Our mentality has been totally destroyed. But let's park that to one side. Now let's go and look at the central issue here. The fact is, Nigerian government, to put pressure on in order to try and put pressure on the Niger government, they have actually, they've gone ahead and cut the power. Now let me show you if I can find some information, because I do like to dig these things out. I'm going to show you something that it makes sense. It will make sense when you see it. I just want to quickly bring that up because I think it's worth looking at. And the French are really, they are the ones drama. This will tell you, and you will notice that many of the Western world, they've sent their citizens back home. They've all decided to, go home, to leave, return back to their country and all of that stuff. It's all planned. It's all we're doing for democracy and everything else. It's nothing of the sort. It's mere games. They're playing mere games with our minds, and we need to wake up as Africans. We really do. So let me show you now. I'm going to show you this now. This is what I want to show you. So to put it here, so you can see that at the top there. Now we will go to the thing proper, but I'm going to read to you something to you. Niger holds gold and uranium exports to France. You see, gold and uranium exports to France. Keep in mind, from uranium, you can generate power. Let's read on. Following the aid suspension post-coup, surprisingly, 1 in 3 light bulbs in France relies on uranium from Niger. Understand? Despite uranium's role in generating electricity, only 80% of Niger's citizens have access to this essential resource. So they have plentiful uranium in Niger, but France have colonized. They've imposed on them that they cannot use it in their own country. Why? This is why I'm saying it's time for Africans. We need to wake up. Really wake up. The time is now. We need to collectively wake up. We can no longer be silent anymore in the face. This is injustice. And the more we stand together, our unity, they are fearful of our unity. Those who colonized and continue to colonize us, they are fearful of our unity. And they are using their own unity to oppress us. So we have no other option. It is non-negotiable. Our unity is non-negotiable. And we need to begin to work and demonstrate that. We must support Niger and Mali and Burkina Faso. Because the ECOWAS that you see there, they are puppets. I'm sorry to say they are puppets. Now let's carry on. Now, so you see, France as a nation is literally stealing resources of Niger people via ongoing colonization of Niger. Exactly. So this is what is going on in Niger. Now let me quickly go and show you mineral resources in Niger. I want to just give you a little, so that you don't think we're just saying this so you can check it yourself. Mineral resources in Niger. Let's go and look at it. And this is what we have to do, a mental awakening. Please, if you are going to any church, as a Frenchman, as an African man speaking French, or as an African man speaking English, they are colonizing your mind. Wake up. Stop that nonsense. Church or any mosque, break that nonsense up. It is a way to control your mind and keep you subservient. You need to wake up. Every time you serve that, you're serving their God, and you are keeping yourself subservient to them. You need to wake up. Now, mineral resources in Niger. Yeah? So let's see what this happens now. I'm just trying to show you. Now, here we go. Now, I want you to read what you see. What do you see on the screen? The natural resources of Niger include uranium, coal, gold, iron ore, tin, phosphate, petroleum, molybdenum, salt, gypsum. Niger has some of the largest uranium reserves in the world. It has also got a good amount of oil reserves. So now you can see why France is keeping their claws dug in. So when now the people now want to free themselves and they're supporting, it's not something I necessarily agree with, but I can see why they're doing it, as long as the military do not lose their way and become the very thing that they are that they're revolting against and standing up against. That's the only thing I will say. But I'm wholeheartedly with the people who are supporting this. So what I'm saying is, you can see on the screen, Niger have got large reserves of uranium, and that uranium is what France is interested in, plus of course the gold. They're cutting it away, and the people are poor. They are poor because of the fact that those colonials are taking away our resources at dirt cheap prices. Our unity, when we unite as Africans, we will put a stop to this. So we can see now that we have there's only one way for us to go, and that is unity of Africans. It must be non-negotiable. But let's carry on. So I'm just showing you breakdown so you can get a picture of where we're going. Now let's go ahead and listen to what they did. So Nigeria now, of course, it doesn't make an economic sense when you have a resource that can provide you with 24/7 electricity and you are importing it, buying from somewhere else. That's because the others, who are the French, don't want the people, the Niger people, to focus on that and use it to benefit themselves. They want to take it. Can you see now how disastrous, destructive colonization is on African minds, body and soul, and our land? It is time to wake up. Let's carry on. Let's watch this now. Listen.
We'll move on to our next story now. The Nigerian government has put its armed forces on standby to carry out military action against the coupists in Niger Republic. If the ongoing dialogue by the...
Now, they are, on top of what I said about the cutting the electricity, they've also now they're trying to carry out military action against them. Yeah, we know the number of forces is superior in terms of Nigeria, but we need to really understand we are doing the dirty work of the colonizers, and we need to really wake up. The dialogue should be the only thing among Africans. What the colonials are doing is divide and rule, and we need to understand that it's divide and rule. And ECOWAS is being used as a puppet to direct their actions. When they send their own people home and they let Africans fight themselves, we need to wake up.
Heads of government of the Economic Community of West African Countries or States, ECOWAS fails. This day learned last night that the move was part of the ECOWAS resolution where member states were obligated to place their armed forces on standby in case there would be a need for military action, which they stressed would be a last resort.
I'm telling you, ECOWAS is a puppet of the EU, and we need to wake up. We need to reconstitute something that is for Africans. We're not going to be doing the dirty work of anybody, any colonial on our land against ourselves. We need to wake up and work together. So I do not support anybody invading, because this is what they're going to try and do. We need to put a stop to this. Collectively, as citizens, as Africans, we need to begin to make sure that our governance, we impress upon them that we do not want, the colonials have divided us long enough. It's time for us to rise up and work collectively together to chase away those who are exploiting our resources and keeping us impoverished in our own land. We need to do that collectively. That's what must happen. I'm not saying to go into any other land and take anything from anybody. I'm not saying to go to any European land and attack anybody. No, I'm saying that Africa, for our resources, for so long we've been denied access to our resources. I've just demonstrated one to you now. Uranium, the largest reserves in the world, and the country has no electricity, barely 18%, and then they're having to buy electricity. So they're forcing them to waste money whilst they're not able to focus on their resources to benefit the people to the maximum. Can you see the oppression and the racism in all of this? In the policy of the IMF is a racist policy from top to bottom. Yes, I said it. Let's carry on.
Also, to show a degree of seriousness with a clear message, major cities in Niger had begun to face rolling blackouts.
See, so now the Nigerian government are doing blackouts. I'm sorry, I don't agree with this. Dialogue should be the only thing among Africans. We should not be turning guns against each other, because every time we do that, we're doing the work of the colonials. Every time we do that, we're doing the work of the colonials. You don't see Europeans turning guns against themselves. In very, very few circumstances, they at all costs. But they're giving us weapons to fight ourselves because they have an agenda. Let's carry on.
As Nigeria, on the instruction of President Bola Tinubu, had cut supplies to its northern neighbor, the country's electricity company, Nigelec, has said.
Well, I told you before, Niger doesn't actually need electricity from us. But because of the colonial oppression, they don't have access to their own resources in their own land. And that is what's beginning to happen to us. We're handing away. Femi Falana-San said, the fact that IMF is running our economy, we are handing our economy to the hands of these people. We shouldn't. Africa must stand alone. We are blessed beyond compare. 30%, 33% or 30 thereabouts of the world's mineral resources is in Africa. So of course their focus is on trying to make sure they keep their hands on that. But we must be the first people to enjoy our resources for the first time ever. Enough of this nonsense. So I would like the entire ECOWAS people, including President Tinubu, to really go and have a rethink and understand. If they stand back and take a look at what is going on, they are being used as puppets by those who want to really ensure that Africans and West Africa particularly will remain divided so they can continue to exploit our resources. It is really important to emphasize this point. Let's carry on.
Also yesterday, ECOWAS restated its decision to use military force to restore democratic rule in the Republic of Niger.
If they were to do that, if they are trying to do the bidding of the French want to have access back to those resources. Remember what I showed you a minute ago. You need to understand when they're saying things like this, what they're trying to do is to get access. See, it says here, Niger holds gold and uranium exports. So they want to get access back to those things at dead cheap prices. How much are they paying for those resources? How much does France pay Niger for those resources? That's what they want. We need to understand. I've just shown you. These are the reserves. And France gets direct access to that by colonization and colonial tax. Forcing them. They're forcing Niger to bank their reserves with them, and only giving 15% of whatever Niger has as a loan to them. We need to wake up. We really need to wake up. We really need to wake up in Africa and have a massive rethink. ECOWAS is a puppet. We need to dismantle that and rejig and reconstruct a truly African organization that serves West African organization, because this is the economic. They're using the colonial mechanism to strip Africans of our resources. That is the plain fact. Let's go forward.
Saying failure to do so could render the regional bloc a laughing stock in the Committee of Democratic Nations.
What you're doing the bidding of the UN. UN does not serve the purpose, has never served the purpose of Africa. UN has been about exploiting Africa. Now Africa must stand together. Like I said, our unity as Africans is non-negotiable. That must be our motto. Our unity as Africans is non-negotiable. It is non-negotiable. That must be our standpoint. Let's go ahead.
It, however, dismissed threats by Mali, Burkina Faso, and Guinea-Bissau.
See, what is really going on? What is really going on? If you look at that flag behind, you see Niger now has got the backing of Russia. And I think one of the things that, as going forward as Africans, we've got to be very careful. We need to put ourselves first and foremost. Any partner coming in must not supersede the benefits of Africans collectively in enjoying our resources in our own land. Trade among Africans must be a must. That's the trade with Africans first, nothing else. Trade with Africans first, everybody else comes second. That's what we need to do. Start beginning to build our businesses and everything among Africans. And we can, through that way, we resurrect the kingdoms that were destroyed. These people don't want us to remember who we are. It is time we woke up. And I would like President Tinubu and others to really rethink this idea of what they're doing, because to follow through, we think you're restoring the so-called democratically elected. You're restoring the gravy train that gives the French free carte blanche on resources that belongs to the people of Niger. That is what is really happening.
Led by military regimes who threaten war against any military action in Niger. All right, Rufai, it's escalating. We're seeing more updates with regards to.
So let's hear. I think my views are going to be. Let's see. It'll be interesting to hear what Rufai has to say here. Let's hope they're not following the colonial agenda. But if they do, of course, I'll point it out. It doesn't mean that we will agree on everything, but I'm going to say my piece, and I say what I think. We have to take a wider, a global view of this and see that all the way back in 1884, the Berlin Conference, the colonials have divided Africa, dismantled our kingdoms, exploited our resources, and continue to do so till date. And that's it resulted in the death of many of our leaders who fought against them. Patrice Lumumba is one. Thomas Sankara is another one. Kwame Nkrumah is another one, and of course, latterly Gaddafi. So everything. I hope many Africans are going to critically analyze reassess how they really look at those bodies created by the colonials, because they're there to exploit Africa, pure and simple. Let's go forward.
Updates, but what I've always suggested is, please, we can keep it with sanctions, kick the blackouts in. Border closure might not probably be the order of the day, because the borders are very porous. People just filter into the border and there's exchange and all of that. And keep the conversation on. In one of the ideas put forward, no-fly zone, have you ever thought of what a no-fly zone is? If my memory serves me right, there was a no-fly zone that was done in Libya in 2011, 2012, during the Gaddafi wars in Libya.
And many of you would have seen the Gaddafi war. It wasn't a Gaddafi war. It was the West trying to come in and forcibly take resources that did not belong to them. And they killed Gaddafi, who was trying to build Africa. Many of our so-called journalists in Africa really need to go and do heavy research. President Museveni just said on one of the last videos that 6 African leaders were told by NATO to turn back when they were trying to end the battle, the war in Libya. They've told them, no, go back, so they could kill Gaddafi. So it's really important. Many Africans who are so-called experts or journalists or whatever, learned or whatever, to understand what is being done here. So yeah, let's go ahead.
The Western nations, it cost them about $1 billion USD as of 2011. And also, please, Ayo, factor the time value of money. $1 billion in 2011. It cost them about $1 billion. Because for no-fly zones, you need your platforms up in the sky. As at then, there was a fighter jet that France uses called the Rafale. We don't have the Rafale because it's very, very high-grade sophisticated jet. It cost them $30,000.
You see, this is what I'm saying. They don't understand the dynamics. I don't know if I and others are familiar with the fact that the resources, the uranium in Niger is being literally scattered off by France, and they enjoy ensuring that in Niger right there and in other places that they have their sphere of influence, they keep the people divided while they cut away the resources. And many people, we need to reassess how we view the narratives of what that's been played to us. When they're talking about UN or West ECOWAS and everything else, these are simply tools of oppression created under disguised names by the colonials. It's really important we understand that.
Euros to keep the Rafale in the air. Have we ever asked ourselves, how much does it cost for every missile fired? Averagely, a missile will set you back 50,000.
Now, that should not be our concern. And you see, and it seems to me that there's some sort of, you think there seems to be some sort of a justification for this kind of this illegal war, this proxy war. It's a proxy war by the colonials who are intent on keeping control. The flag that I showed you in the middle before. Let me go back again. I want to get to that flag. I'll show you. See that flag there? They fear that flag. The West fear that flag. What is happening now between Russia and Ukraine? It's not really Ukraine. It's not really Ukraine. Russia is not fighting Ukraine. There is an entire UN, US, and that's what's going on. It's a proxy war. We don't want to end up in the same situation in Africa. We don't, among ourselves. That's what I'm trying to really pinpoint here. So let's go forward.
Clarion call. Not because I don't support my country, are coming together in Abuja. Support. I love my country so much. Very, very high grade sophisticated jet. It cost them 30,000 euros to keep the Rafale in the air. Have we ever asked ourselves, how much does it cost for every missile fired? Averagely, a missile will set you back 50,000 to 100,000 euros.
And the resources that we use in making
so
that missile,
the cost,
but the cost of the mineral resource used in creating those things comes from Africa, and we're not paid. But these are the things that many people who are, it is those who are abroad, diasporans, who are really seeing the true picture. And I would hope that those at home would listen to what we're saying a little bit and just entertain the possibility that we may be right. Because what the perception is doing now, it's not. I can't blame him, because that's what he can see from his vantage point of view. We have a much more rounded, global point of view, if you like. But let's carry on and listen nonetheless.
Are definitely going to be enormous. In an economy where we are struggling to defend our currency, I do not support.
Well, I'm going to do a program about currency shortly as well. I think I will do that, but we will come and talk about this.
But I love my country so much. I'm a patriot. But for the love of mercy, we beg. Are there other ways we can talk about these things that are happening in Niger? Because already Burkina Faso and another country, Mali, if my memory serves me right, I said any aggression against Niger is an aggression against them.
Now,
I see that the ECOWAS service chiefs are coming together in Abuja. Please, let us be circumspect about this.
Now we're talking the same language. I agree with that. Let us be circumspect. Wise words, and I support that wholeheartedly. I'm reassured slightly, but there still needs more work to be done, obviously. But yeah, I support that. Go ahead.
Wars cost money. Military operations cost money. We have our own internal fights and battles here. We're fighting with banditry and insurgency and all of that. We have not solved effectively. Can we talk a little more? And I'm making this clarion call. Not because I don't support my country, not because I want to be a pacifist, but let us look at the cost implications. Because you see, if ECOWAS goes in, it is Nigeria that is going in invariably. Nigeria will put a sizable portion of the troops down and a sizable portion of the money. I would rather that we are using that money to defend our currency. Yes, at least to shore up our currency base so that things don't go gaga. I would rather we are putting that money in our economy, not frittering that money away in Niger. The days we did ECOMOG, we had some leeway. But what were even the results and the lessons we learned from ECOMOG? But I support the power cuts to them. Let's look for other measures. Let's talk even further.
Okay, I think the matter is as follows. The deadline that ECOWAS has given Niger will expire this Sunday. Apparently, the coupists in Niger, they've decided to snub President Tinubu in particular. Under normal circumstances, General Sani will probably have sent a delegation to President Tinubu as chairman of ECOWAS, to just seek some kind of, rapprochement for whatever it is worth. Now, ECOWAS had also taken steps to send delegations to Niger. First, President Patrice Talon of Republic of Benin. Second, President Mahamat Déby of Chad. And then I understand that General Abdulsalami Abubakar of Nigeria has also led a delegation to Niger. In spite of all of this, there has been no positive development because it looks like the coup leaders are determined to dig in. Now, the development that we have seen is not really a very encouraging development. It is the case of a number of countries, Guinea-Bissau, Guinea-Conakry, Burkina Faso, Mali, and I think Chad also, saying that they are opposed to any kind of military intervention in Niger. In fact, the other two countries, Mali and Niger and Guinea-Bissau, Guinea-Conakry, they are saying that any attack on Niger will get them also involved in the law. They are creating their own United Nations inside West Africa,
very important,
causing division within ECOWAS. Algeria, that is to the north of Niger, has also issued a statement saying that they cannot afford to have any military intervention across their border for any reason. So that's the complexity that has developed. Now, yesterday, the army chiefs of the ECOWAS countries met in Abuja. Now, these other countries within West Africa, namely Guinea-Bissau, Guinea-Conakry, Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, boycotted the meeting because they said they don't believe in the idea of any attack and that in any case, ECOWAS should not intervene in what is going on.
I absolutely support that stance. And ECOWAS should not intervene because ECOWAS is, we now know, is a puppet of the colonials. It's that simple.
In Niger, that again makes it a bit complex. So when the deadline expires, what is going to happen? Is Nigeria going to go to war in Niger? There is an international dimension. The Russian Federation has said...
You see, I was putting the flag up. Now you see that the flag makes sense. Let's carry on.
Does not support any military intervention in Niger. And the Russian ambassador to Nigeria has been quoted as saying that ECOWAS should explore constitutional means. The same
there you go.
Russian Federation that is not exploring lawful means in Ukraine is preaching to ECOWAS. You see the kind of funny things we see, in all these arenas that we monitor.
That's the thing. As far as I'm concerned, when you say Ukraine and Russia, it isn't Ukraine and Russia alone. Ukraine has been, there's been a proxy war being fought there, in my opinion. But I'm not going to go too much more into that. But let's just, anyway.
On a daily basis. However, when James Cleverly met with President Tinubu yesterday, he said, the UK is behind ECOWAS. So you see that there is an international dimension to it. So if you go in there and you launch...
That's exactly what I'm saying. It's a proxy war.
An attack, there are so many interests that have shown their determination. So Niger, the coupists in Niger, can immediately form a coalition of soldiers who will face the ECOWAS team that you send there. So a risky, costly operation it may turn out to be.
That's exactly what I put it. If you look at my broadcast yesterday, I said in the broadcast, those of you who will be watching, let me just make that statement clear, because that's one of the, I intimated this in the broadcast yesterday. So I said here, what do I say again? Let me just make sure I get that right. 1 second. I just want to, I like to just, reference things as when it resonates. Now it says, in a dangerous and delicate situation, ECOWAS meets in Nigeria. So it's a delicate and we have to be very careful about what we're doing here, and we have to understand as Africans that we are being used as as tools. We're being divided by the colonials, and we mustn't play that game anymore. We must stop playing that game, because every time they divide us, they exploit us. It doesn't end in just the division. They exploit Africa, and we need to put a stop to that. Now, let's go forward.
Okay, in the midst of all of this, if ECOWAS even launches an assault, in the 1990s, yes, we did it in Liberia with mixed results. Okay, I think ECOMOG also went to Sierra Leone at some point, and then in 2017, we intervened in Gambia to get, the sit-tight ruler there, out of the place. So there's no guarantee that even if you go into this military confrontation, it will work. And that's why some people have been asking questions, like Professor Badijo, who's coming onto this program shortly, asking questions about cost. Can Nigeria afford it? Because all these other countries that attended meeting, when it comes to supply of troops, okay, can they back it up with logistics? Okay, the European Commission says ECOWAS has not contacted it to ask if they need any other help beyond the economic sanctions that the EU has imposed. That is another side of it. The United Nations, is it possible that Russia, having a veto power, if the matter goes to the United Nations, won't Russia veto the intervention?
Now you see what we're saying? Can you see the international perspective on this? That's what we're saying. So I really need to, for me as Africans, our unity is non-negotiable. But let's carry. Let's go forward.
And stop the UN from even providing any kind of backup. In other words, our submission is that Nigeria needs to tread very carefully.
That is what I've just said. Delicate situation. Situation. And it needs a real, serious, deep think. One in which those who are in power now need to, they need to re-strategize, and this is the time for Africa, in fact, particularly West Africa, to make sure that they disentangle themselves from the colonial web, because there's this colonial web that's been spun, that all African countries, bar the three that I mentioned now, Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, those three leaders, they are freeing themselves, but it needs a lot of work, and they need support. The colonial structure has really sowed deep divisions in Africa, whilst encouraging closer ties in Europe. And that is to our experience, to the cost of we the people. We're not benefiting from our resources because we're not united. And we need to really begin to change that narrative, begin to take control of our resources in our own land. We'll be the first people to benefit for our coming generation. This must change. It must fundamentally change as Africans. And we must stand by that. And starting with our culture, our food, our clothes, our herbs, everything, we need to promote that and ensure that our industries, we need to back our industries up. But all of this will require having a really stable support system that will allow growth of the African continent, with the people of Africa at its core, at its center, front and center, of the beneficiaries of the infinite resources that we have, first and foremost. But let's go forward.
We have shut down power supply to Niger, okay? Well, what if Niger decides to find a way to build their own dam on the Niger River?
They don't even need to build a dam. They have uranium, one of the largest reserves in the world. They have that. So it's not about shooting ourselves in the foot. We need to actually provide for our own people. Again, this idea, we need to take an economy away from being used as puppets by the West. our economy, our resources, everything. It's time to wake up. The policies in Africa must be Afrocentric. It has to be.
And then build their own dam and not rely on Nigeria for electricity. So that one may not be so much. And if they do their dam, maybe it will not affect us too. 85% of our electricity supply in Igmi and those other places comes from gas powered. 15% from hydro, Shiroro, Kanji, Jeba. Okay, so we don't really seem to have an upper hand. And then the effect on those states that border Niger, Katsina, Sokoto, all those states in the north, they could become targets. So I think the bigger issue is to avoid a situation whereby the northern corridor.
What we don't want to do is end up in a situation whereby we allow the EU to now say, in the guise of supporting and start having out the agenda of recolonization. Because mark my words, there is a recolonization agenda. Many people don't want to talk about it, but there is. They do not accept, they do not like the fact that Africa is actually saying, you know, we're staying out of the war between Ukraine and Russia, and we're not going to take sides, and we're going to solve it. They don't like that. And they're imposing LGBT things on us in Africa, which, like I said, in the US, if that's what they want to do, but in African soil, Africans must decide what they want. Nobody should come from outside and tell us how to live our lives, how we see fit. My ancestral belief of having more than one, having 2 wives, 3 wives, is something why we should support and stand full square behind as Africans, and not allow anybody. They have no right to question us on how we choose to live our lives as Africans on Africa, in African soil. But that's another story. Let's carry on.
Of our country is turned into a war zone. And in war, you know, there will be casualties, not just reputation, that we seem to be suffering from now with all those coup leaders in Niger snubbing the president of Nigeria. Some of these people have guts, you know. But in any case, our own sovereign interest is more important to us, and protecting the interests of Nigeria should be the primary task, not ego. So these are the dimensions, but we'll see what will happen. If ECOWAS, having promised use of force, does not go ahead, yes, ECOWAS will lose face. But let's see if mediation will help, if negotiation will help. Some people have even gone as far as leave the people of Niger alone.
Yes, leave them alone. We've got our own problems here, and this is an opportunity. And I'm going to come and have further discussions about this going forward. But let's just, on this issue, the fact that I think the Nigerian government needs to be very, very careful about stepping into something here. Because like I said, Russia can, very much like the presenter said, that they're not going to actually allow, they can veto anything, any attempt by the UN to intervene militarily, because they have the veto. And one of the top 5, and one of the 5 in the world, Russia, US, UK, France, and of course China. So they can veto. If Russia vetoes, nothing will happen. And we will be stuck in the middle of that with the war and everything else. We don't want that situation. We need to, and those, I mean, it is obvious to me that Africa, we need to withdraw the borders. But that's, again, another discussion for later on. All these borders that need to be, all these European borders need to go, because it's used as a way of extracting resources based on those who colonize. And they are exploiting Africa and oppressing us in our land.
Let them solve their problems. Why should we be bothered? But no, that will not be how to see it in real terms.
Yes, it's a dicey situation, because first of all, it's the guts of Niger Republic. This is approximately 25 million in terms of population, one of the poorest countries in the world, according to the UN. So
now, please, we need to really begin to get very clear. According to the UN, the narrative of those who colonized us, we must be careful of following that narrative, because I'm going to show you something that runs counter to that. Now, this is what I'm going to show you. That's why I like to go and do a bit more research. And I'd like you to do the same. I'd urge you to do the same. The natural resources of Nigeria include uranium, coal, iron ore, tin, phosphate, petroleum, molybdenum, salt, gypsum. Niger has some of the largest uranium reserves in the world. Now, uranium is valuable. Let's just go and look at what uranium does. Uranium is valuable. Very valuable. Let me just see. So their cousin was in those places where the resources are, and then they say poorest. But we need to stop saying that. Yeah. You see? Let me read this to you. A further property of U-235 is that it is fissile, and so neutrons emitted during fission can cause other U-235 nuclei to fission also, releasing a lot of energy. This reaction is the basis of operation for the world's current nuclear power stations and is the major reason why uranium is a valuable mineral resource. So you can see, so when they say that we're poor, it's not that we're poor. It is an engineered impoverishment. It is an engineered European impoverishment. So when this is what we really need to get control of the narrative as Africans. So again, of course, do your own research. I don't allow, as Africans, we need to define who we are. We're not going to be looking at ourselves through the lens of those who colonized us. And that has been the problem we faced for many a year. Time for us to redefine who we truly are and embrace that. So let's go forward and again. Let me just check.
Population size is like Lagos State. Imagine a country that's largely dependent in many ways on their neighboring countries, particularly Nigeria, stand up against negotiations, coming to the table, and even sanctions. The leader of the coup and the one who, General Abdurrahmani Chiani had said that ECOWAS sanctions and ECOWAS intervention is illegal and inhumane. They're saying that it is now an attack on their sovereignty. Therefore, Nigerians themselves should stand against any kind of interference by other nations, including the ECOWAS bloc. For Nigeria, it is, particularly for President Bola Tinubu, it is an opportunity to demonstrate the superpower of Nigeria on not just the West African bloc or side of Africa, but African continent as a whole. It would be his first, perhaps, major...
I think that would be a miscalculation if he took it as though they demonstrate his power, because there are issues around the presidential elections, and the legitimacy issue is going to be something that will be played out. It's already playing out. I'll be doing a video where you will hear the discussions between the Mali, is it Mali or Burkina Faso and Niger, all supporting Mali and Burkina Faso supporting Niger. I will play that video shortly. So it is something that President Tinubu may want to really look at. This is not a time to even entertain this. And in any case, Africans should no longer be allowing themselves to waste their lives to meet the goals and agendas of colonizers. We need to put a stop to that.
International, major foreign, well, not international, local international intervention as President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So the world is watching, and Nigerians are watching as well. So it's very dicey in terms of the start.
Extremely dicey. One he should refrain from at all costs. We have not solved our own problems, and we should not be creating more problems, yet more problems. Yeah.
In terms of egos, as has already been mentioned, in terms of a demonstration of superiority, might, and power as a nation and as a country on both sides. Obviously, Niger is on the short end of the stick because of the fact that they are not, in terms of economy, size.
Again, I keep telling you that it's a lie. They are supremely rich. The uranium they possess is one that is highly sought after. France will do anything to keep access to that uranium. And they're afraid that once the partnership with France and with Russia takes hold, they won't have access to it. They are worried. And we need to understand the power that we possess as Africans with the resources and begin to build and give ourselves our unity, strengthens us to be able to fall above and push back against those who have been oppressing us for so long in our own land. In our own land. In our own land.
Up to that of Nigeria. However, what is fueling or giving them the power for the guts and the show of bravery, as it were, against the ECOWAS bloc? It is interventions by countries who have also come under military rule in very recent times, and also, as Dr. Abati had mentioned, interference from the international world. So it begs the question, as a number of analysts and observers have asked, who is really behind this coup? Whose interests are at stake? What is in it for Russia? What is in it for the United States? What is in it for Niger themselves?
Africans, we mustn't allow others to play their game with our lives. We mustn't allow international powers to play their games with the lives of our people. Our responsibility must be to our people first and foremost, ensuring that with the benefit from the resources in their land, we need to really be very, very cognizant of that as Africans. That's why reconnecting with our ancestral beliefs and ancestral ways is essential. But that's for another discussion.
Is this just on the surface? These are questions that have come up, particularly with this coup. Now, I doubt it very much if Niger would capitulate before the deadline given to it by ECOWAS, which is on Sunday. I do believe that they are going to go all the way, especially with the backings of the countries that have come. On Wednesday, that was yesterday, one of the coup leaders went to Mali and addressed the Malians, saying that they ought to support them and they shouldn't, allow the threat to take over. This is the body language and the statements coming out from Niger, so they're not going to back down. It will now be time for ECOWAS and Nigeria in particular to decide, and I doubt if, again, they would go back on their word saying that they will have to use military force as a last resort. So brace up, Nigeria. We are possibly going to intervene with our military. And from the leaked documents...
One of the things that we should not do is to fight somebody else's war. Let me show you the leaked document. Now she mentioned it, I'm going to just show you the leaked document as well, because I do have that in my possession, and it is not pleasant reading, put it that way. I did not find it a pleasant read. It is something that we need to be against in any case. We need to be against it, and we shouldn't support that at all in any way, shape, again, or form. So let me just try and get that information out. Hang on, one more thing quickly. I'll just do this quickly. I want to just because we cannot keep doing this. We really cannot keep doing this. We cannot keep fighting other people's wars in our land. That's what they're doing. Going to war. And again, that is a recolonization agenda. I said it. We cannot afford to allow those who colonize us to prod us into fighting each other in Africa. We need to save the lives of every single African. Right, let's do this. So, struggle. I'm going to show you the printout, and you just see. It gives you an idea. So here it is. Here's what she was talking about. That's what she was referring to. We're going to try and make it big as possible. Okay. So you can see now. Let's read it. I'm going to go in and read it in depth. So it's trying to show a force and all that. I would advise President Tinubu not to go in that manner, because there's an issue of legitimacy of his position. And those who likely he will be going against will say you are not legitimate, and that will make the fight. We must not allow a situation where we allow those who want to exploit our resources, use us to fight each other, to continue to exploit us. We need to stand firm as Africans together, so that we collectively benefit from our resources and our people's lives. We have to value our people's lives. Now, it says here. Now, any Nigerian army to provide 2 battalion group Nigerian people to provide something else. So this is the communique that it is. It's a prep to commence move on platforms to Sokoto and to enforce a no-fly zone. Move will be at short notice. Please treat PSC, treat and AK. So somebody signed it, obviously. It's been signed off 1945, August 28. Whoever is doing this, we really urge you, do not make that mistake. It is really, really important not to make this mistake. Let me just put this here. I will see if I can do that. So she was talking about that. I wanted to just, I just blew that up so we could get a clearer picture of what is being done. So at least you can see what they're doing. So that is the document that she was referring to. That was the document that she was referring to, and I wanted to just give it to you so that you could see what she was saying, that, you know, it is, we do not want that to happen. So let me just make sure that we got that here. I think we'll be wrapping up this broadcast, but it is important to understand that we mustn't allow the Africans must no longer allow themselves to be used to kill each other for the benefit of the colonizers. We need to stop the killing of ourselves for the benefit of those who colonized us. That's what will happen. They will continue to exploit our resources. So really important point to make there.
Yesterday, you see that we're already taking position to go in post-Sunday deadline. So the matter of cost, like Rufai had mentioned, then comes in. And I'm, you know, in a few minutes, we're going to be speaking to our guest today who will be taking us even deeper into analyzing the Nigerian situation and talking about what Nigeria as a nation, our position, the costs, and what it would portend for even humanitarian intervention for Niger at the moment. I mean, it's, like I mentioned earlier on, it's a dicey situation, but I do think that
Very
Nigeria
dicey.
should get ready. We possibly will go into...
Well, I would hope we don't go to any war. I would hope we don't go to any war. Any African should not fight. We should not be fighting the European wars on our soil. Africa should be careful of fighting European wars on our soil under the guise of names of what we think is African bodies, but they're actually European bodies used as to control puppets, the little we call puppets. We need to be very, very aware of that. So that's my wrap up. That's my take on things. I don't know how you say it. One of the things we have to be very, very careful as Africans is not to fight European wars on African soil. No longer must that happen, because what they're doing is exploiting our resources and then blaming us and then calling us all kinds of names. We need to really, it's time for us to stand together collectively as Africans. I firmly believe that. That's all I'm going to say on this for now. The song keeps saying, how long am I going to suffer? Many of you in Yoruba land understand, and Igbo land and Nigeria understand what it means. We need to really stop the suffering. It's our coming together in unity as Africans is what will solve our problem. We do not want to fight the wars of Europeans on African soil. And it's very important we understand that. So, ladies and gentlemen, you are watching Citizen Wide, the platform where we speak with the power. Thank you for watching. Please, as ever, continue to subscribe. Help us grow the platform. Leave your thoughts and comments. Let's hear from you. It's really important going forward how we build this, build things, because we cannot allow those who colonized us to continue to control our minds. Get your minds out of that Bible, out of that Quran. Get your mind into waking up and seeing your fellow Africans. They are the people that you need to work with, and we need to reconnect with our ancestral belief system. That is how we will get a great Africa and know our history. Reconnect with who we are culture-wise, our language, our food, everything. That should be first and foremost. So please go ahead, subscribe to Citizen AY, hit the notification button, give us a thumbs up. One more time, what I'd like you to do is to go ahead and subscribe to Citizen AY, hit the notification button, subscribe, hit the notification button, and then finally give us the thumbs up. You've been watching Citizen AY, the platform where we speak with the power. Thank you for watching. What I'd like you to do is keep it locked on. Citizen AY. That's right. Keep it locked on. Citizen AY. Thank you, and bye for now.